we have to, I suppose, examine as a society and as individuals what is important to us. Now, where I think, we've touched several times upon, the fact that as an individual, you're more likely to bias yourself towards negative information online. We do have a degree of individual power and individual responsibility. And I feel like if enough people awaken to the possibility of different narratives, that the capitalist idea of innovation and success and progress, that all of these words can be examined. What do you mean progress? That assumes a teleology, a purpose, a destination. If all time is happening at once, if space is infinite, that bit of yours of to try and fathom for a moment the limitlessness that we're existing within, then all these things are constructs. This is a construct, and it is good to have technology, but it's possible to, at times of crisis, such as what it feels like we're at now, and I know that people have said, we always feel that every generation thinks that they're the one because they know their own impending death is coming, and they narrativize that into something social and global. Well, regardless, there's got to be a time where we start to introduce different ideas into our systems. It seems like there's room for that now, because we do live in a truly global culture, that there is the possibility for monoliths to introduce new innovation, and there is nothing that can oppose it or regulate it. We're starting to see this kind of breakdown. So I'm interested in how we can individually prepare ourselves to organize society differently, to be able to overcome pretty superficial differences like, you go hunting, I don't go hunting. Who gives a fuck? Let's start talking about how we can organise societies where people who go hunting or don't go hunting can live peacefully in different ways, not entirely governed by a small cabal, and I'm sure power is more complex than that seem to be hugely biasing the direction of this so-called progress.
I think you answered your own previous questions when you're talking about whether or not you can be spiritual and funny, and what are you doing? Can you carve that path out for yourself? That what you're doing there by explaining that would influence people, would give people a perspective that allows them to say, why are we doing this? And what is the purpose of this? And if enough people hear those words and have that perspective introduced to them, it'll change the way they interact with the world. And that changes the world. It really does. And that's one of the more powerful things about discussions. When someone like you says something like that and it resonates with people and they start thinking why am I living like this? What if I really do only have 50 years to live? Why am I living these 50 years in some really unproductive bullshit way that's not satisfying at all? Because I just want a bigger house? What is it? Do I want a faster car? Do I want an expensive piece of jewelry? What is the purpose of this path that I'm on now versus a path that I could be on? And what is the real conflict that we all experience between each other? How much of it is due to a lack of communication? How much of it is due to a lack of real listening and understanding? And one of the things I've said about comments on podcasts and stuff like that, I think one of the reasons why a lot of people get mad, and I've tried to think this through, why some of the response is so negative to things that seem innocuous on the outside. I think it's because it's frustrating when you don't have a say.
Yeah.
If two people, you and I are talking about something, there's probably some guy right now going, well, just fucking stop with all your spiritual bullshit. Here's what you do. You wake up when your fucking alarm clock goes off. You never hit snooze. You get out the door. You put your hours in. Eventually you get better. You take care of your family. You act like a fucking man. And there's probably people like that they're upset. They feel like we're pontificating too much. Yes. And this is all just, just mental masturbation.
You're right.
In ways it is, but that's part of how you solve these things and think these things through.
I believe they deserve their say as well. And that's one of the things that, of being a person that goes to sort of 12-step support groups is you recognize that everyone's individual experience is valuable.
Yes.
That it's not like that. And I've got over the idea that that some external thing can be imposed, and whilst there are many people that are we could say not using their 50 years to maximum effect because they're pursuing odd material goals. There are, many more people that have never been introduced to the idea of freedom because from the moment they're born, they're economically tyrannized and told that if you are not economically valuable to this system, you are not valuable at all. And that's only an idea. If you don't, if you can't become a lawyer or, a comedian or whatever, fuck you.
Well, so many of us are trapped in the expectations and values of our parents too. That's a real problem with people don't let their children become an individual. They force their children to follow their own rigid ideology, and they shame them when they don't.
I agree with that, but do you not imagine that a fair degree of that stuff is unconscious? Do you not think that you and I are probably unconsciously imposing things on our kids?
100%, but not with guilt. And I mean, if your kid comes to you and say, "Dad, I know you wanted me to be a doctor, but fuck it, I want to play bongos. I just want to be the best bongo player of all time." I bet you'd probably be like, "Hey, learn the fucking bongos. Yeah. Give me a hug. Go get those bongos.
Get out there and become the best damn bongoer you can. Or even mediocre. I don't care.
But there are fathers out there be like, the fuck you are. You're going to be a goddamn doctor. Stop being a pussy. And you're going to go back to medical school, and you're going to pick up your studies, and we're going to get you a tutor, and you're going to perform because we're a Wilson. You're a Wilson, and this Wilson family's been physicians since 1820. Your grandfather.
Time immemorial, the Wilsons have been physicians.
He made people bite down on a leather strap before amnesia, and he sawed off legs, and he kept those people alive. You want to play bongos, you little fuck. Yeah, people get mad.
But my bias is towards my kid, like when we was back in England, like I was aware of like grandparents or whatever reacting to spiders and stuff, going, "Oh, spiders are scary." I'm like, don't fucking teach them that spiders are scary. I don't want her to think of things as scary. Tell her like the spiders are cool, they're all right. There's nothing, like. So, and you're aware of familial influence, like that they want the hair to be a certain way, they want them to wear certain things, they want them to, part of the veganism is like, if you make these kids vegan, at least now I know wherever they go, there's going to be so many restrictions on their food. I've not made the kids vegan. They eat what the hell they want. It's up to them. Yeah, thank you. Where's my gold star? Where's my ticker tape parade? Yeah. But I don't know we don't know our own biases. We don't know where we've been institutionalized. I'm not sure, because the very nature of the unconscious is we are not aware of it. So I suppose in a sense a continued open-mindedness and a willingness to change must be part of any dialogue to go into these situations. Think, do you know what, I might not actually know that's why I'm not. When I was 20, if you'd have said about the hunting, I'd be like, "Oh no, man." Like now I'm like, yeah, Jesus, there's so many ways of seeing the world. There's so many ways of looking at what's natural and what's correct. What do I know?
I think